I think that you have designed a business to complement your life that serves you. And I would almost say like you have reached like peak business performance. Bruce and I have been talking about this.
Hey, Printhouse, welcome back. John Gibbs from Logo Daddy as he cruises to 3 million, but how he does it profitably. Things like diversification, managing his time well, different roles that he's hiring for. He really gets into the weeds, and I'm super appreciative just how transparent he is about this journey of some of the ups and downs to be able to get there. Anything that stuck out to you on that episode?
Bruce, you did this like peak business monologue a week ago that went out on YouTube. And I feel like John has designed his business to complement his life. And
yeah, John is the example of that.
John is the example of peak business performance. But this podcast would not be possible without our amazing sponsors. Bruce, do you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. We've got an incredible new partner, printprofit.com. You may have heard of Print Profit. We had Nick on, the founder, before, and he's coming up again. But printprofit.com, you already print shirts. Now it's time to print profit. Print Profit is a profitable software built for print shops, profitability software for print shops. You can think of it like a business co-pilot that connects to your Printavo and QuickBooks to show you in real time exactly where you stand and where to go next. Run your shop with confidence, knowing exactly where to focus on to close better deals, increase margins, and grow profitably every day. You can schedule a one-on-one print profit audit at printprofit.com. I just want to also say that this platform is really, really powerful. I've heard a lot of positive feedback from shops who are using it at printprofit.com to be able to see the profitability of their business in real time and not wait to the end of the month to see what cash is left over in the bank. Check it out, printprofit.com.
Sweet. And I think we're going to have Nick on shortly in a future episode. Bruce, have you heard of multicraft_daddy? Of course you have. If you go to Instagram right now, search multicraft_daddy, you will find Dave Eggers from Multicraft. If you need ink supplies or a daddy, Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies for over 50 years have been providing you with top brands at competitive prices. If you mention the Printavo pod, you'll receive an extra 10% off your order. And Dave gives away a free case of PMI tape on every episode. If you haven't ordered from Dave yet, shoot him a message, multicraft_daddy. He raffles it off every single week. And we're so appreciative for his sponsorship. And his videos are pretty funny. Keep doing them, Dave. All right. Who we got next?
Easy Way. Steven, I know you're spending hours cleaning screens. Guess what? That's a thing of the past because Easy Way screen printing and screen cleaning chemicals get the job done. They've got innovative formulas that are designed to work quickly and effectively. So you could spend less time cleaning and more time creating. Ding! I need that little like gum commercial sparkle from the teeth. Plus, Easy Way is passionate about empowering printers of all skill levels. They offer helpful resources and expert advice to help you succeed in printing.
Bruce, I want to tell you about the best new software platform to hit the industry. It's called DGI Apparel, and it was built by a group of nerds from MIT with background in screen printing. DGI allows you to connect your accounts with Sanmar, Alpha, SNS, and you can compare prices, inventory, and shipping times across every apparel supplier on the website. You can even buy AS Color on there. The average shop spends 2 hours purchasing every day, and DJI will cut that time in half. So ask yourself, what would I do with an extra hour every day? And there's no promo code because DJI is free and will always be free for shops to use. It costs you $0 forever. So if you're not already using DJI Apparel, you're wasting your own time and money. There's 1,500 shops that use this. Go to dgiapparel.com. Tell them we sent you.
GraphXSource.com. You know that if you mention Printavo Pod 24, that gets you 50% off their services. And what are their services? Separations, mockups, creative art, order management, digitizing, back office admin, customer service. They've been at it for 40 plus years in the game, and they plug into Printavo. They plug into any shop management tool that you have to be able to help manage this, all that stuff. I know Campus Ink heavily uses them for a lot of the SEPs and digitizing and mockups. And so they've got a bunch of artists that are plugging and playing into Campus Ink's Printavo account. So check them out, graphxsource.com. All right, let's jump into the episode. John Gibbs. John Gibbs at Logo Daddy Graphics. Where'd you get that name?
I get that. I get asked that question all the time. Actually, we were just talking about it with somebody just yesterday. It's not a great story. I mean, I was thinking of like when I was going to start printing logos on things, I was like, well, I don't know. It's got to be logo something, right? And so I was thinking like logo dog, logo, all this different stuff, right? Like what sounds good with logo? And then like, I don't remember who it was, but somebody as a joke was like, you should call it Logo Daddy. And as soon as I heard it, I go, actually it kind of sounds cool together. Like it goes, it works. And then we started sort of joking around about it. And I'm like, I think I'm going to go with it. I like it. It sounds good. I asked a few people and they're like, yeah. And yeah, it's crazy because now that's like most people know me as that now, like in our town. Like, so we did so many youth jerseys for these like youth leagues and stuff because we've been in business 18 years. So we did, all the kids that are now grown up, we printed all their jerseys and stuff. And like they would run around all the little baseball parks and everything. And they're like, Logo Daddy, Logo Daddy, Logo Daddy. That's how everybody knew me. So.
I mean, it rings and it buzzes. And what did you feel? Okay, when Dave Eggers picked Multicraft Daddy, which I helped him name, how'd you feel? Were you like poser?
There's only one daddy in this town.
I'm okay with it. I love Dave, so I'm okay with it. There could be room for two daddies in the town, I
guess. Dave made the funniest video the other day. Like he green screened himself sitting on a bucket of Wilflex and he's got Bruce's bobblehead like life size next to him. I was like, dude, where are you getting this? It was awesome.
I've not seen that one yet, but some of his
content
really,
is cranking. It is.
I love the Blue Water one where he did the Rolls Royce and the Blue Water. That was really good.
I commented on and said no words. And then he texted me, goes, is it okay? Did I do everything right? I'm like, yeah, Dave, is freaking awesome.
I think you could tell he's having fun too doing it, which is
that's what it's about.
Just that much better.
You should have fun. That's
John, do you spend part of the week at home? Like your background is just really nice looking apartment condo setup or living room setup. Do you try to spend time working at home or are you always in the shop?
Yeah, no, I kind of bounce around. Like, honestly, I don't work from home a lot, but I feel like I'm always on the go. Like, so there's some days, like if I got stuff, my mornings start off slow. I take a lot of time for me. So like I go to the gym every morning. I just sort of prioritize that stuff. So like, I don't typically, even when I go into the shop, I don't typically get there till probably maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, at least 10, 11 sometimes. And then, a lot of times, like today, I won't be there all day. I'll work from here today and do some things and get stuff done. But yeah, I have a pretty free schedule as far as where I can work from. So it's kind of nice.
Now, when you go into the shop, what do you do? Like, do you go just greet your employees? You take a lap? Like, what when you go do that?
Yeah, usually first thing, like I'll get there around 10 o'clock in the morning. And honestly, that's exactly what I do is I sort of take a lap and just sort of check in on everybody, say hi, let them know that I did come to work today and and I am present. And but yeah, usually I'll check in. I always stop by my art team first. We have two guys in there and I just drop in, say good morning, see what's up with them. How's things looking? We've been really, really fortunate. Our team, we're now in a spot where we're fairly stable and we're managed pretty good. So like, there's usually no crazy fires. Every once in a while, we're real busy. And so maybe production stressed out or something like that. But honestly, it's just checking in with my production manager, my salespeople and just seeing how things are going. And usually they all have something that I can help them with or like something they need me to jump on, but I can knock those out pretty quickly and then get back to back to regular scheduled programming, which is basically just my list of things to do, focusing in on.
Is there anything in the business that requires you to be there? Like, will the business run with or without you? Or are there are there specific things that like without John, this doesn't happen?
No, short term, no, it runs without me just fine all the time. I probably take off more time than a lot of owners that I know. Or I'm not there as much as a lot of owners that I know. But I think long term, if it goes 2-3 weeks, there's definitely things I have to check in and get involved with. Or it just feels like things start to, like the knot slowly unties if I stay gone too long, and so stop, checking in. And like even just some of our big customers, we have like 3 or 4 pretty large customers that I have great relationships with. So it's like, if I don't touch them once a month, then I need to, just to stay kind of on their radar and in the loop and let them know that I'm there if they need me. So, but yeah, the business really runs without me.
You've been around for 18 years. So at what point were you able to start to step back? Like, was it a roles that you had in place? Was it a revenue or
The new facility, or
profitability?
you designed the new place as well? Yeah. Talk to us about the lifeline of the business there, that life walk.
Yeah. When it started happening, really, I guess it was before we moved into the building previous to the one we're in now. And the way it happened was sort of by accident. We bought a building and it needed to be remodeled and rehabbed. And so myself and my father-in-law, who works for me, he's fantastic at those things. He's helped me a lot. We started working on that building, and I basically told my production team at that time, I said, hey, I'm going to be gone for like 3 months. So I'm going to do check-ins, but we're going to be at the other place working. So it was kind of a good time to do it because, your team didn't feel like you weren't there or weren't doing anything. They just knew that you were doing other things. And so it made them step up and kind of take charge and take accountability for things. So I was able to build out that building, and then we moved over there. And then after that, it was like, cool, I can actually start focusing on like bigger business things, like higher priority things, because I don't have to do the day to day. We had a production manager that was doing a good job.
What size, John, was the business when you started working on that? Like, is there a revenue amount or people or what?
Yeah, revenue amount was probably only maybe like around 2 million, something like that. And people probably at that time, probably 17 or 18, something like that, a little under 20. Then when we moved this last time to our current building, we had like 24 on staff, but we did the same thing. I was gone for about 4 months, building out that building, and just really wasn't even, I felt really disconnected. Actually, sometimes I couldn't have told you what was going on in the actual business because I was just working on the next building. And once we got that set up, and obviously that's when we switched over all of our equipment and everything. So there was a lot of conversations and meetings involved in doing all that. Once we got all that changed out and everybody moved over to the new building and we got things going, now my management team does a pretty good job of staying on top of things. I think that's the one thing I try to do more now than anything is give them the resources they need, training that they need. We bring in consultants at time to work with them because, they're better at that stuff than I am. So I just let them pretty much handle it. And then when something hits the fan, I jump in and make sure it gets taken care of.
How does the sales work when you're gone, right? A lot of the owners are doing either handling the inbound or they're trying to start to do some hunting and doing a little outbound mixed with the inbound. Was that totally taken over?
So it was for a little while. So we worked with Kevin about 3 years ago, I guess 2 or 3 years ago. And I hired a sales director, thinking that was going to solve all my sales issues and problems. It's getting somebody good in that point position. And it worked out. I mean, it was nice having somebody over that, but honestly, most of our work has always been inbound, like it always the phone kind of just kept ringing. We're learning a lot from that right now, and we're changing a lot of things. Like now, like my main focus currently in the business is just focusing more on profitability and, it's more long-term success type things. So as we're looking at that, we're realizing now that, just taking inbound calls all the time isn't always the best way to get the right customer. So, this sales director that I had, we recently switched that up, and he moved on, but he did some good things while he was there, but it didn't ever catch fire the way I hoped that it would in sales. And so it was almost like I just didn't feel like we were getting where we needed to be. And I don't know if it was right position, wrong guy, or if it was, wrong position to hire for. But I think right now sales are pretty organic with us. Like we have 3 or 4 big customers that I have great relationships with, that we have contracts with, that the work is, they have plenty of work they just keep putting in orders, and so those orders keep coming through and we just keep doing a good job with them. So our sales reps now are basically just processing the orders that come through. I mean, it's all relationships. So it's like, one of our, we have a big customer that's a gas station chain, and, there was just a big concert here in St. Louis. And so, they were bringing all of their corporate staff down to this concert. So I make sure that I meet up with them and hang out, have a drink, and make sure you do all that stuff. But then the next day we got like 3 different rush orders for them, because they had ideas that they came up with. And so really just me staying in the loop with some of those bigger customers keeps the work flowing, I think, for the size that we are.
If there was a department that you like maybe micromanage, or you still feel like you really have your hand on the pulse on, what would that be at Logo Daddy? Would it be sales, or what do you think that is?
It would probably be sales, although self-admittedly, I don't think that that's something that I'm really, I don't know. I'm not a salesperson. I'm just more of
you're the owner, but your title has a lot of weight. So it's.
Yes, correct. So I can get a lot of sales done, and I can make a lot of relationships that are really beneficial to the company. But that's one thing that I think I would really love to find is somebody who could step in. My dream is that a young Stephen Farrag's going to walk in my shop one day and say, "Let me handle this part for you."
What didn't work with that director of sales role, right? Because I think a lot of people want to elevate and have a sort of sales manager to own it. Was it, and we've had the problem where, our leads are coming inbound. We're like, let's grow more. Let's do some outbound. But like the team that's doing outbound is so much harder. And so what are you going to do? You're going to do what's easiest, and you're just going to handle the inbound leads and complain about doing outbound. So, so we had to sort of rework the commission and like try to motivate that more. But like, just digging into it more on your end, was that similar as to what happened, or what do you think didn't stick?
Yeah. So honestly, I think it's really difficult to bring in someone into your business that's going to now control who you do business with, or to try to control that, or to try to manage that if they don't really know this business. It's so hard. I just feel like you still have to know printing to be able to do a good job with that. And so like the sales director that I hired came in, and we were like, "Hey, how quickly do we want to move the needle? We're going to be able to," and I was like, "Man, this is going to be great. We're going to move it, $1 million, $2 million in the next few years and just keep cranking." But the truth is, he struggled to make the right connections or the right relationships. So like, for instance, in our town, there's a big liquor company that it's a certain brand of tequila that's the owner's here, and it started here in St. Louis, and it's really, really gotten big. And so he's trying to get a meeting for months and months and months with, the right person at this company, because that was somebody that was on our radar. Those are the kind of companies we want to work with. Well, by accident, the building that I live in, I met a guy who was best friends with the guy, and he goes, "Oh, let me call him right now and I'll set up the meeting," and then the next day I'm hanging out with the guy, and now we're friends, and now we're working for them. And it's like something that my sales director was really, he was going on LinkedIn, and he was doing all these things. Like, he was doing the right steps to try to get to the right person with this specific company. But if you just can know the right person, or if you can get in with the right person another way, it happens so much faster. And so for me, I was like, man, I feel like we're just spinning our wheels here. We just keep trying to get this contact and this contact. And it was just easier for me to sort of, whatever you want to call it, move and shake and get to the right guy quicker for the customers that we were looking for.
I think what's interesting is, like, you can be a great salesperson. That doesn't make you a great sales manager. You can be a great sales manager that's driving activities. That doesn't make you a great sales director. You can be a great sales director that oversees sales managers. That doesn't make you a great VP of sales. Maybe it does a little bit. But what I've learned, it's interesting when I watch Kevin work with our teams versus like me, like they'll nail down their KPIs and their activities, but then I still need to go in and kind of like massage the way in which they acquire the customer, how they like giving them the like print acumen. But I will say, like, did anything positive come out of that experience of professionalizing your sales org, working with a true director of sales? Like, is the sales team organized and functional even with his departure?
Yeah, it is. It was, it's like anything. It's growing pains, right? You learn from even mistake. The only way that you learn anything is to make mistakes. And so, not that I don't think that was a mistake on our part. I just think it did make us focus on some things we weren't focusing on before because, he did have a really strong sales background. So we were looking at, hey, here's what our quarter looks like, and here's what we need it to look like. And so here's how many calls we need to make, and here's the numbers we need to hit. So he did get us thinking that way because before we never thought that way, but I also think it depends on how big you want your business to scale or be. I think that under maybe even 4 million, 3 million, I think that you can, you maybe don't need a sales director. You maybe just need some good relationships and some good account reps, and you can make that happen. But if you're trying to go to 5 million or 10 million, you have to have somebody who's just focused in and working with the team and like you said, making them hit all those KPI, or making them hit all their targets, and putting in all the calls and putting in all the work to get to the right customer. So I think it just depends on what your goals are for your company.
What are your goals? What size do you want to be?
I'm pretty happy where we're at. We're probably, I don't know, this year we'll probably do a little over 3, I guess, which I still consider pretty small. But I like that. I think everybody's goal is to do as much as you can, right? Like if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, would you want to do, 10 million?" Well, of course, like why not? If everything's set up properly, all the processes and the team. But for me, I'm looking at it a different way. I think that my company right now is where it's at, and we're very manageable, and I don't want to say easy to run, but kind of, you know what I mean? Like we don't have to, like I said, I show up at 10 o'clock and I leave early a lot of times, and I don't need to be there. And so that freedom sometimes is worth more money at the end of the year for me. So I look at that, but I think the thing that I would be looking most at is, doubling that up, maybe, having another shop that can do the same thing. And so, and then that's where my revenue growth would, I guess, come from, is just having 2 shops that are doing similar numbers.
Interesting. So John, can you talk about, I just from knowing you and kind of seeing like you guys travel a lot, like you're very social, like you guys are out, like on the boat, whatever.
John's not stressed. John's peak.
And John, you are committed to your fitness and your wellness and your health, and like you take that very, very seriously. I think that you have designed a business to complement your life that serves you. And I would almost say like you have reached like peak business performance. Bruce and I have been talking about this. Bruce just did a riff for like 10 minutes. It was like a monologue.
I heard it. It was good.
On peak business performance. And he called out 2 specific things, which I forget, but he'll call them out in a second. Bruce, can you maybe point those out? Because I think you do those, and I envy it, right? Like it's pretty gnarly.
I just think from getting wrapped, like from focusing on Printavo and growing at all costs and spending so much time on it for so long, I feel like the peak, the best position to be as a business owner is one where financially you're able to take home enough income that more than covers your expenses. So maybe it's 2x, maybe it's 50% more, but to a point where you're not looking at menu prices. You're like, you want to go here? Sure. It's not like you're on vacation every month, but you can do the things you want to do. And then 2, you're flexible with your time, right? You can say, yeah, I want to come in today at 10, or Friday. Oh, someone's in town. We want to go golf, whatever it is. So those 2 different things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, so, it is that way for me, but, it's funny when, it always looks different from the other side, right? Like I still feel like I have there's still a lot of stress on things. Like we have a beautiful shop and a lot of employees and great equipment. And so all that, there's a large cost for that every month, that is always a stressor. there's this Q1 was really tough, I lost money a few months. And so that's always stressful, right? So, there's things like that that are always going to be stressful. But to be honest, I just try to focus on exactly what you said. I want the business to complement my life, and I want to be able to, I think as I'm getting a little older, it starts to feel like there's sort of a stopwatch going a little bit. And I'm like, man, all these great things that I want to do and all the fun I want to have, I need to go do it now. I don't want to wait. I see so many guys that, like, it's funny, we have great friends in this industry, and they are like always talking about work, and like it's Saturday at like noon, and they're like, what if I, make this much cheaper and sell something else? And I'm like, get on a boat and open up a beer, homie, and just like chill, like all you're doing is work. Like it's like 9 o'clock on Sunday, and they're like, look at this, I'm going to do this week and see if this works. And I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not doing that. It is hard to turn off, I think. And so,
how have you done that though? Were you always like that? Or as in you could, turn it off on the weekend or night like that?
So no, listen, I'm very, very fortunate. My wife and I, we both feel very fortunate. I think one thing that I love about us and our relationship, we both sort of started with nothing, and we came from nothing. And she's done very, very well, and she's been very successful in her career. And I feel like we're pretty successful where we're at Logo Daddy. And so between those two, she does really well, and we do okay. So, we're able to, and we bounce it off of work, right? Like, so, we were just talking about traveling to New York. I mean, she's going for a conference. So like that's her whole week is like paid for from her, her company, and she'll be there for a conference. And then I just get to like fly in for the weekend, and we just buy like 2 more nights, and we just stay the whole weekend and have fun. So we try to like sort of, piggyback off of work for a lot of trips and fun, but we just make sure that if we are working, we're also having fun and enjoying ourselves too along the way.
How did it shift, right? Because I personally don't feel like I got there, whereas, until I was forced because of the change in ownership. But like, when do you feel like you were able to shift from having a weekend to being out on the boat and taking it easy versus constantly thinking about what's next?
The business. Yeah. Honestly, I would say then, so it's probably been, honestly, it started about 10 years ago, right? Like when my wife and I got together, and, as we started sort of just building our lives together, it became more of a priority to me, because before that I wasn't happy in a relationship and things. So I was just like focused on work. Work's what kept me busy. It's what I did. Once that focus switched, then I was like, I want to start spending more time traveling, and I want to, I never traveled anywhere until I met my wife, really, and she traveled a lot for work. And so then once I started traveling with her and we started going out and having fun together, it was just like, yeah, let's do more of this. This is nice. And so then it started to switch and become a priority for me. So I always try to make it to where I can be building the business and doing good things while I'm traveling. But it's funny, like, there's a couple people at our shop that are like, they joke with me sometimes. I'll come in and they're like, do you still work here? I'm like, yeah, I still work here.
Do you feel any guilt that you're having fun and people are back at the shop working? Do you feel that at all?
Not as long as everybody is paid well. There has been times this year I was able to finally, for a long time, I think what any owner has to do at a smaller level, like where I'd say I was at, or to building to where we're at now, you have to get people to believe in your vision. And that's hard if they're not making enough money to like do what they need to do too, or to pay their bills, or to have a good life as well. So if I was out on the boat on the weekend and my guys were struggling to pay their rent, I wouldn't feel good about that. So I think that we pay some of the highest wages in the industry, I think, when I check around. And we're in St. Louis, which is more of a lower scale area anyway. But so I think that we pay pretty well. We take care of our team with great benefits. We offer all the things that they would look for with another employer to live a great life. So then when I am gone and I don't it doesn't feel so bad then, because I know that they're driving new cars as well. And I know that they can afford vacations as well. And so how they choose to do that's on them at that point.
Yeah. When I was a little bit younger, I would feel guilty doing fun things. And then I realized it was just something that I would make up in my head. And what I do think, and I was working with a couple of shops where the owners are kind of like in the shop too much and they're trying to let go and like take days off and things like that. I think your employees genuinely see how hard, like your true employees that trust you, they see how hard you work. They see how much you've done. They also know that they are never going to be able to do what you've done. And I think a part of them wants you to enjoy your life and actually like feel good about it. And I think that's something more recently at Campus Inc. Like we have a lot of employees that have taken paternity leave or maternity leave. And we tried to just like explain like, hey, there's no guilt because you're going and enjoying your life. Like go do that. And I've seen my employees reciprocate that to me. And it's something that took me a really long time. I'm curious, Bruce, did you ever feel that? Or did you just only put your stories on Friends Only or private stories so they couldn't see what fun shit you were doing?
No, definitely still felt that for quite some time. But to your point, I think that the team definitely sees, and the team definitely sees and wants you to be able to do other stuff. And to your point, John, I think, and I never realized that, but you're right. If they're taken care of, then you know, you have more of the green light than, yeah, like why are you feeling guilty for it? But that's a hard one to also grow out of and feel more mature, I guess, about it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how you focus on that more, but I do wish I got to that point sooner.
It's a tricky one. I think it's like anything though, like if whether you're the owner of a company or not, you know, so you have a job and you get 10 PTO days and today's a nice day and you just decide to take a PTO day, but your company is really busy right now. You probably feel a certain level of guilt that you're not there today. But at the same time, you know, you only live once and you have to take care of yourself. And that's why the day's there in the first place. So take it and enjoy it and don't feel bad about it.
John, you said Q1 this year, 2025, was a bit slower than normal. And you specifically said unprofitable, actually lost a little bit of money. How do you tackle that? Like, how do you think about that? You know, obviously that's a bit worrisome. How do you plan for it? How do you think about it?
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, after 18 years, we're in a spot where, you know, if we have an off month, we're okay. You know, it's not the end of the world. That happens. We know there's certain months that are going to be, you know, less productive for us and more productive for us. So we don't worry about it too much. But this first quarter was challenging. You know, it was like because a few of our, you know, I keep saying our bigger customers, really those customers only hold about 10 to 15% of our gross rev. So they're big customers, but they're not sort of too, I mean, that's pretty big, but it's not too crazy big. But if you have two customers and they're both 15% of your annual and they slow down for a month or two and don't order much, that's a pretty big hit. So that's kind of what happened with us. Everybody just sort of pulled back a little bit in January. Now, the nice thing is everybody's sort of pushed even harder at this point, but it took a minute. You know, I don't know whether it was, I guess you could chalk it up to a lot of things, right? Like everybody said, oh, it's the election, everything's going on with the economy, the tariffs, all this stuff. I don't know what it is, but they just pulled back a little bit in January and February, and it really kind of hurt. But you know, we have good diversity in our business. So like when our screen print shop is slow at times, it seems like our sign shop and our vinyl shop is actually busier.
I think customer concentration is something that shops are like, they look at, they're scared of, and then when something hits, you're like, oh crap, I got to do a lot of work to make that up. I mean, 10% of, call it $3 or $4 million, that's 300 grand. That's 300 orders. If you're at $1,000 AOV, like to go and find 300 new customers or like freaking, you know, that's 25 new, that's a lot of work to make up for it. And so like, what do you do? When you have down months, something I struggle with definitely. How transparent are you with the team about it? Like without fear mongering or like guilt tripping, right? But obviously like trying to raise accountability. What do you do when those months happen?
I think that most people would disagree with the way I do things. I'm probably way too transparent with my team all the time. I don't know why that is. I think it's just me personally. Like I'm kind of sort of like, I don't know, on my mind, out my mouth sometimes. But a lot of the people that I work with also are, I consider them almost family. I mean, I've had employees with me for 15 years and they built this thing with me. And so they know a lot.
What do you mean by too transparent? Are you sharing,
I share profitability. I share down months, up months. You know what I mean? I'm happy to share the wins with them, but I'm also, they know like if we have a big win or we have a great month, and we're highly profitable, they understand that like, I'm not just going to go buy a new Lamborghini, that obviously we're going to be preparing for a month that maybe isn't as good, and so, but there's months when we're really, really slow, and I kind of want them to know that too. Cause you're right, Stephen. I think it does build accountability from them where they're like, hey, if we're having a slow month and an order gets messed up in production, I want them to know how bad that hurts us because like, hey, just slow down. You can't, we're struggling to get orders in the building. We can't mess any up, so like, and if that happens, which it did, in January, we had one that kind of bit us a little bit. It was just like, hey, right now it's slow and we're trying to make this work. And we just had a great order come through and we ended up basically cost us money because we messed it up. So I want them to feel that same burden that I feel in there but I just want them to feel some ownership about it. And they typically do if you're transparent with them. And I think that they feel like, again, I think at a company my size, I'm not making, millions and millions of dollars a year. And that's not why I'm not there every day. They know that, I'm doing okay, but I'm not bringing in a new Lamborghini to work every week and doing donuts in the parking lot and stuff like that.
Not flying private yet.
Not flying private yet.
So just Spirit and Frontier.
Right. You can't afford the bags.
Yeah. Bruce will plug Southwest right now. Anyway.
Yeah.
When
So something that we do.
that over?
Bruce is going to be their freaking model or salesperson or ambassador. Maybe they should sponsor the podcast. Southwest?
I was going to say, you get free flights. You should get free flights at least.
Coupon code, buy one, get one free.
Bruce gets a free drink coupon.
Yeah.
But something we do at Campus Inc. So our CFO, we brought in a professional CFO, and he's a CPA, and he actually will teach accounting to our team to be like revenue, profit, gross profit, cost of goods. And he'll actually whiteboard it all out for them. And he'll tell everyone, hey, to turn the lights on every day, it's 25 grand. And so then what we do is we set each salesperson's target for what they need to do on the quarter. And he is, religiously on them. Hey, you're on target. You're off target. Hey, you're on target. And he'll be the bearer. We call it his weatherman report. So that because I feel like some employees don't get it. They just see dollar signs, but they don't realize that you have rent and utilities and insurance and all that stuff. Bruce, were you pretty open at Printavo about stuff? It's software, so you're selling robots and cloud storage, but
we had a revenue dashboard, but it was only top line. So and that helped, I think, because they could see things like churn, or they could see revenue of different products and things like that, but it wasn't a mix. And I think that was a good point. I was always a little bit shy of sharing profit numbers because of that. But maybe that was a smarter idea, was to be able to, do that. I think the one thing that we tried to do early on was to do team bonuses based on a profit number. And that worked when we were small, but the difficulty was the profits got skinnier as we wanted to grow to the next level. And so the bonuses got skinnier. And so that model just didn't work, and
that causes problems.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas in hindsight, I would have just 5% or whatever it is, and budgeted that, put it in a separate account every month. And then that was used to spread out versus a percentage of the profits, which, you buy a building or whatever else that they're that slurps it all out for that year, and nobody gets anything if you're planning it that way. So
Yeah.
Hey, can we do some rapid fire with John and ask some big hitters? Because I think like the industry recognizes you've designed an amazing shop, an amazing business. You take care of yourself really well, and so I think your wisdom is super important. All right, how would you invest $10,000? And also, if you could also invest $100,000, how would you spend that?
Yeah, 10,000 is hard because it's honestly today it's not a lot, right? Just like you said, sometimes it's 20 grand to turn the lights on every morning. So 10,000 isn't a lot, but I think, right now for me, I would invest 10,000 probably in some of my top employees that are performing the best. I would just bring them up a little bit more. That's about that time of year for me right now. I'm looking at some reviews and bringing some managers up. And so I'd probably do it in sort of a bonus way, something like that, because again, those guys, it's because of them that I get to have a free schedule and that I get to do these other things. So if I can pay out $10,000 to make 2 or 3 people a little happier and doing their job better, that buys me a lot of freedom. So probably that's what I would do with 10 people. 100 might actually be the same answer, but it would be a different person. It would be, we really do need to find a sales manager or director that fits the business well and is doing a better job with those things. That's still a piece of the puzzle that I'm going to need. My top sales rep is Kathy, who's been with me the entire time, 18 years, and she's probably looking to retire in the next couple of years. And probably the only reason she hasn't retired yet is because she knows that I think that she feels we would be kind of screwed without her. And I might even feel that way. She would be a very tough one to replace. And so I need to start thinking about replacing her, and I need to start thinking about bringing in good talent that can do what she does, and then sort of keep moving us and taking us to the next level. Actually have interviewed people in the last couple months for that role. And it's crazy because I'm interviewing somebody for sort of a sales role, but I'm really not even looking at any sales experience. I'm looking at more of just a business background and really just personality. And that's how I plan on hiring somebody for that position, right? Because I think I just want somebody who's a hard worker, a great person. And so I would probably spend 100 grand trying to find maybe the right person there. And we may end up hiring 10 and firing them all, but you got to start looking at some point. So people.
What are the biggest traps? If you can give, advice to a shop, maybe a sub-million, around $1 million in revenue, what's the biggest trap or traps they would fall into as an owner?
Like biggest trap meaning problems they would face, or
problems they would face trying to grow to the next.
Don't fall for this or don't do that.
Yeah. Don't try to do too much yourself. So many owners, and I think so many people just go, well, I can get in there and I can do the artwork myself really quickly, and then I'll just run in there and burn the screens, because why would I pay somebody? I only have 10 screens to burn today. Why would I pay somebody for that? And so on and so forth. So it's like, I say, maybe it's just investing in one good employee that can do several things and maybe some automation. Just don't fall in the trap of always doing everything yourself. Because, again, some of my closest friends, I look at their businesses and I'm glad that don't have their business, because I feel like they're always they're doing every single part. And I feel like they're so far away from freedom, that they have such a lot of work to do, and their companies might be very successful and they may make good money, but they're working really, really hard to do so. So don't fall in the trap of doing everything yourself.
All right. Now you're in the vinyl wrap business, you're printing banners and signs and all that stuff every single day. Why haven't you bought a DTF machine?
I know it sounds crazy, right? Because it'd be easy for us to do. And to be honest, we have partnerships and relationships that I could probably do. I could probably get a really nice machine put in there pretty quickly. But for us, DTF still, honestly, a lot of it was listening to some of your stories, Steve, and just saying like, hey, if we're not doing X amount of dollars a month with it, right now, that's one thing that we're trying to, because we do vinyl and screen printing, I feel like we're already thinking in 2 different directions, and that's a lot of work. So I don't want to add another thing in. Like, I just want to stay in my lane a little bit. Right now there's so many people that I can make phone call to and get as much DTF. I had a job that was thrown in my lap. I literally needed it it needed to be done in 2 days. And it was like 17 different designs, and it was just for some samples for a big customer of ours, and all these different designs and all this stuff. And I had like 2 or 3 days to get them out, and they had a photo shoot with all these athletes and all this stuff. So I put in a phone call to a friend. I'll give him a little props on here, but Scott at King Screen, he took great care of me. And Scott literally was, up until midnight printing these designs out for me and got it done for me. And they were fantastic. And he did a great job. And so it's like, if I can still get that when I need it, then I don't need to bring the machine in and pay somebody to run it.
I did that once for Justin Lawrence, and all the transfers peeled. Well, I'm glad you didn't call me.
Yeah, me too, I guess.
It was like the first time I had a shitty machine and everything just got backwards. And yep. Yeah. Anyways, shout out Scott. Bruce, what do you got?
What do you think something that you've changed your mind on? Could be recent, could be distant memory, but something you changed your mind on.
That's a good question. I think something I changed my mind on is just what I wanted the business to be. I don't know I think a lot of people don't know. I think when you start out, you're just trying to make money, right? And you're just trying to, going, hey, if I can make X amount of dollars, now I have a good paying job, I guess. But then as you start looking at your business, it's like, where do you want it to go? What do you want it to be? Do you want it to be, do you want it to be $100 million business, or do you want it to be a $2 million business? And so for me, when I first started, I was like, man, when I first started, I had some other things going on. I wanted to be smaller because I had some things happening with my kiddo and some stuff that we had to tackle. And so I was like, I just need to stay small and make enough money that I could survive. And we did that for a while. And then I was like, okay, now I want to stand on the gas a little bit and get bigger and start cranking. And so I started doing that. And now I'm at a spot where I'm sort of slowing that down again and going, hey, let's look at a different way to get bigger. Instead of getting our shop to $10 million, because that takes more employees and more everything. What if we looked at it a different way? And if you think of like the restaurant industry, right? Like what if you own 2 or 3 restaurants,
Should we leave this for a part 2? Dum.
We'll leave this for part 2. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. More to come.
Right. More to come.
I appreciate you being so transparent with us. We've definitely got a fun part 2 coming up with you. And actually, is there any other questions you want to ask, Steven, or do you want to save it?
How do you make being 40 look so good?
It's a lot of gym. It's a lot of count your macros. It's a lot of all those things. But I'll be honest with you, we still have a lot of fun too, probably more than I should. So if I could not go out and have a lot of fun drinking with my friends, I could probably get there a little faster, but we do still enjoy that. I think you just have to be happy in life, and so that's what's important. I envy Bruce. I see Bruce surfing and I'm like, man, I got to get down there and figure out how to surf. And
you envy surfing until you try it, and then you realize you're going to die over and over again. And then your friends, Bruce and Kevin, after you go out for an hour, they're like, all right, back at 3:00. And you're like, God damn.
Dead. Yeah, I'm done.
So come on out. We can try together.
I just know that I've always lived in the Midwest. And so we've been traveling a lot. And we went to Hermosa Beach. Rum at Supercolor invited us, or told us where to stay out there, kind of gave us some pointers. And man, we just loved that area. It was so beautiful, just sort of that. We were out there for almost a couple weeks during Long Beach, and it was just like getting up and running every morning on the Strand, and then just biking and enjoying ourselves. I was like, man, I'm doing it wrong in Missouri. I need to get out here. So, who knows? Maybe we'll be looking for a spot sometime soon.
Well, come back out. At least do the hotel again. Let us know. Let's all get food with Rum But John, I appreciate you being able to join us. Print Hustlers, we appreciate you guys always hanging out every single week in and week out. This has been an awesome episode. Pumped to keep chatting. John Gibbs at Logo Daddy Graphics. Have a great week. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.